Hello class, this is Professor Wallach. I'm going to go over basics of 3ds Max. We're going to look at basically your basic tools. Remember that I've got a notepad that will be put up as a page for you. So Control Z, Control Y are undo, redo, and then the other one is Shift Z. That's going to revert a change in the viewport view. So a change of the view of the viewport. We'll talk about that in one moment. Right now we've set up with this is the default view. I suggest you pull out this bar right here so you get 3 columns because you'll need this later on. The other thing is that you've got 3 viewports right here. It's basically top, left, front. These are your orthogonal views, and they're typically in wireframe. And then you have your perspective view, which is in a shaded mode. There's 2 ways. We can use this button right down here or Control or Alt W to maximize the viewport toggle. That's cool. One thing that Video Studio, 3ds Max has now is tabs. We can click a tab here and give it a single viewport. And we can do that so we can go between these 2 right now. The one thing is that this is in the top view, so we'll want to click across these, and this will be basically you want to click here, set this perspective view, and there are hotkeys for that. We can go to a standard view, which we would want. That's what we want. We've got nothing. We don't need to go to performance right now, but that's if you've got like a really big scene. And then it's in wireframe. We want this really to be in default shading. We're still in the top view. We can grab this gizmo right here and move around to change the viewport. There'll be other ways to do this as well. I'm going to just jump back here for right now because we're just going to go over. I'm going to put in a box. So when you click this section right here, there's different modes here. This is a create object and select objects. This is a modify. So this is specific to an object. These are the 2 that we're going to use the most. We're going to go back to again on the create tab. We're going to do a box, and I'm going to first thing I'm going to show you a snap. So this is toggle snaps S. Click on this and bring down to 2.5. And that's basically the best one as far as I've used. It's a 2D, is a 3D, 2.5, 2.5 snap is the one I find most useful. So I'm going to go to box and I'm going to click on the box and it's going to bring up parameters. We'll come to that one sec. You can see that snapping to the grid, and that's what I wanted. And I'm basically going to go down and I make a box 60 by 60. And then I'm going to go up. And you can go negative. So, and you can see by having snaps on, it's basically snapping my cube to these. Now it did do 60.002. Just get rid of those. This is one of the things that you will get into habit as you go in and go back and type in values to be precise. A lot of 000s. If we go look at the object right now, the way I built it is 000, but it could have easily been off center, and I would be typing 000s down here to provide that. All right. I need that because I need something to select. If I want to go back and, I'll select off the box. If I select on it again, if I wanted to change the parameters, I would go here and I can change it. And I'm actually going to bring this in to be 2020, 20. So it's much smaller. So there's more room for what we're saying. And I'm actually going to maximize the viewport in this case. So here we go. Again, I can bring it in. If you want to scroll, if you want to zoom in and out, it's the scroll wheel. And then if you hold down the scroll wheel, it will pan around the scene. All right. Q, so the hotkeys, I can select an object. Q will be select object. W is select and move. E is your select and rotate tool. And then R is your scale tool. So Q, W, E, R, T are your tools. You want to go between them. There's this new select and paste tool. You're not going to use this for quite a while. Like the biggest example is I'm going to put an object on a train, which is basically it's a mesh that you've made basically effectively. So that's what that snaps an object to another object. Cool, not necessarily useful right now. There is the view. I'm going to go back to. Why is it not showing up? So right now, here is the move tool. You can just move it around as you see fit. Sometimes it'll be easier to, like, if I only want to move it on 2D, this is why these are up. So this is the top view. So I'm moving around in that regards. Or I can move it on front. I can move it up and down and then on one of the axes. So I'll move down too far. There we go. We've got screen view, we've got world view. Local and world are going to be the two that you're going to be jumping back between. And this is mostly basically, are you dealing with the local coordinates, are you dealing with the world coordinates, are you dealing with screen coordinates, or are you dealing with the perspective coordinates? And there's different ways to use the coordinate systems. For our purposes, right now, world is what we want. We're not in a place where we need to do anything local just yet. All right. Moving on. I just told you about the scroll wheel. Alt Z. So if I zoom way out, I hit Control Z. Sorry. Alt Z. In on it. We can zoom all, so it will zoom. Why is this? It's going to zoom all of the viewports at the same time. Zoom extents, so it's going to be in the viewport. I'm going to do, again, this is again Shift Z. I'm going to do here, zoom way out. I can do the extents. It'll bring it in to around the object that I've selected. There is another one next to it about sub-object that we'll talk about later when we start working with meshes. An object can consist of sub-objects, and we'll talk about that when we start working with meshes in more detail. You can change the field of view. You don't really want to do this, to be quite honest. There is the pan tool. Again, already you've got this, but there is another version here. There is a walking person, and that basically is that selected. I can move around WSAD. Then we have the different orbits. This is orbit just in general, orbit by selected, the sub-object, and there's point of interest. And point of interest is an interesting one. It just picks a point in space where you click, and it rotates around that. Most of the time, you probably want the selection tool. So it's going to orbit around this object, so it's anchored to it. So these are the tools that you're going to be using around. Again, you'll get used to basically typing in values. Again, if I move, let me turn off the snaps. You can see that I just moved it in imprecise ways. So again, use the grid as you're working, particularly this first lab. You really want to use the grid to your advantage. And don't worry about things being small. Think about them being big. Like a 10 by 10 object is going to be small in this case, or it's going to be very small. Like go bigger with your sizes. So don't think I'm going to make a unit by 1 by. No, that's very, very small. In fact, typically we're working in centimeters. Is the typically you might be working in meters or centimeters. And that's how they're getting translated over to Unity or Unreal. So there is generic units, but those get translated to the engine in weird ways. So think about things in terms of centimeters, meters. Do not think of in like feet or inches or yards. Don't use the imperial system because the engines are not thinking that way. If we go further back, you'll see that you'll see powers of 2 come up regularly. So this is 2, 4, 8, 16, 32, 64, 128, 256, 512, 1024, and so on going up. So when you're dealing with older things, you'll see powers of 2 as opposed to something a multiple of 10 or multiple of 100. I've already shown you the boxes. Let's just go over cone. Basically, you make a circle, you go up, and then you say how much it comes in terms of second radius. Sphere, we make an object. The thing about the sphere is where is it? There's the sphere, which is if we zoom in, typical globe geosphere. Basically, this is your buckyballs. Segments, you can go down you can go lower. You can get much lower, like 3 segments here with the buckyball, and it looks good. Whereas the sphere, give a radius, do 20. Select the other one. We'll do a radius of 20. Segments, then this gets more dicey. Again, we're getting down. You start 12 is probably the lowest. Well, you can probably get down. When you get down, like 12 is probably the lowest you can go without where it's starting to look a little sketchy. When you get down like around 8, this is really much. And again, 6 is not even registering a sphere, and then here's 4. It's just really a cube. So be mindful. The thing about this is that, you don't need 32 segments. So you can get down to 12. You can get down or 16. And it'll look fine. There are some tools here. There is a slice on, and basically how slice from where to where. So basically, we're going to slice from 0 to 90. You can see I've taken out a portion from 0 degrees to 90 degrees. So if you wanted to make basically, here's Pac-Man. You can do that. I'm going to turn slice off. We're going to keep that as a sphere. Let's go back to our other cylinder. Basically, it's kind of like the cone, but you don't squash it. It's just one radius in a height segment. And I'm going to go and I'm going to delete some of these things. And I'll go back to the plus and select remove. I'm just going to delete these. And I'm going to highlight some of the tools. So here is you can select the radius. So this is going to be, I'm going to do 20. So it's going to be bigger. You can see how many height segments. Right now there's 5. I could say only 1. If I've got a straight shot. Cap segments. I'm going to zoom in on this viewport. And I can say, hey, there is now 1 segment here, 2 segments here coming to a point in the center. Sides, very much like the sphere. 12 is a good number. You can see you can go down to 8 for lower poly. For much older games, they did a 3 for their cylinders. The original Battlefield game, for example, did that. So, control of how it is. Again, you've got and you do want to keep it smooth right now. If you turn off smooth, it basically says that these. It's not smooth flowing. Let's go back up to, let me see, back to 1 height segment, and where's my size? Let's go back up to 18. And you can see that there is each face is considered separate. When you turn on smooth, it says these are faces that are supposed to be lit together, and that's basically what you do. Most of the time, you want smoothing on. We'll worry about smoothing, and we'll talk more about smoothing next week when we start playing with meshes. All right, I'm going to delete you. Tube. Outer ring, inner ring, height. Radius 1, radius 2, height. How many height segments, how many cap segments, how many sides. Torus. It's a donut. Rings, donuts. There you go. The pyramid, we will make the base of it and bring it up high. Plane. It's just what it is. It is a plane. And then finally we have the teapot. Yes, a teapot. This is bragging rights for Autodesk for because teapots you were the rage of the mid '80s, rendering early '90s. It's a curved surface. It's got detail. It was the ideal object to model to demonstrate your technology, and because it's a primitive here in 3ds Max, it's bragging rights. You can control, get rid of the body, you can get rid of the spout. Well, we'll keep the spout, but you can get rid of the handle, you can get rid of the lid, you can get rid of the spout. I will tell you that for this week, you're going to model some 3D chess pieces. You'll use most likely the spout to use we can rotate it, and you can see that, hey, it can be used for the knight's body for our purposes. So there are other primitives. There are extended primitives, compound objects. We'll look at these later on. There is text plus, basically. There we go. So we can see that I've made a hello. And we can go and look at the rotation and be like 90 degrees. That's not the 90 degrees we want. I've been dealing with Unity too much. And that would be a negative 90. There we go. So there we go. Hello. Let you play with this. There's things that we can do with this later on. Yeah, if you want to throw in some flat text for right now, this is how you do it. We'll talk more about text later on. Color. So right now, we're not playing with materials as of yet. So like this teapot has this pinkish color, and this plane ends up has this green. We can change that and pick object color. I'm going to make this a red. And for this week, basically, you are going to use this as your color picker. You can go down here and add a custom color. And I'll be like, hey, I want, again, right now it's in a value. So you've got two values here. So this is from 0 to 1, and this is from 0 to 255. So right now I want this at 0.75. So I want gray, but not a pure white. And then I can close this, and now I can select that, click OK, and now that's that. So pretty much this is the big thing right now. The other thing is that if you want, for this week, you'll use the group tool. So if I want these two objects, and again, Control Select is going to add things. Alt and Select is going to remove things from the selection. So I'm going to select these two objects together. We'll go up and use group. We will use group, and this is going to be something. For this week in this lab assignment, basically the select is the grouping. I'm sorry, the grouping tool here is how you're going to build things. Starting next week, we'll do a different way of doing about this. There are some views. I'm trying to look. There is the Scene Explorer, and this will bring up, hey, this is your hierarchy. So we'll go into more detail with, again, here is, you can see that this something group has a pyramid and a teapot. We'll deal with this later next week. In fact, and you can actually move things around. I'm actually going to move this over here. So you can, I'm trying to get it. There we go. Oh, that's not very good. Let me put that right There we go. Here we go. So you can play around with the viewport. If you ever get there is scripting customize preference. Where is it? Change. Where's the layout? They've moved stuff around again. Rendering, customize. Here, yeah, it's under. Revert to startup UI is one here. You can lock your layout, customs default searches, load UI scheme. So if you get in trouble, do customs revert to startup UI layout. Yeah, we'll just say yes. And this is going to, well, again, we can go to views and we can, sorry, unselect that scene selector. So we'll talk more about this next week as we go forward.